All right, well, let's get started, I guess. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for zooming in. My name is Gordon Helm, and I'm one of the directors of the El Dorado County Farm Trails Organization, and will be moderator for this afternoon's event. For those of you that don't know, Farm Trails is comprised of over 120 local farms, ranches, orchards, artists, businesses, and businesses that support and promote the county's legacy of quality agriculture dating back to the gold rush. Farm Trails is dedicated to providing access to the best of the county's agricultural community through collaborative educational outreach, promotional events, and cooperative visitor activities that support our farm families and business members. We also operate the Wednesday Farmers Market on Main Street in Placerville during the warmer months. As a member of the El Dorado County agricultural community, we wanted to help our members and the agricultural community as a whole to evaluate who they might want to support and vote for in the upcoming Board of Supervisors race. We've invited all the candidates from Districts 1, 2, and 3 to participate. Today, we'll be exploring county issues with District 3 candidates only. We held similar forums for District 1 and 2 previously, and albeit we did have some technical difficulties, those sessions are on the Farm Trail website for review. District 3 includes the central part of El Dorado County surrounding Placerville and Camino. With the help of the Farm Trails Board, we came up with 7 questions that each of the candidates have responded to in writing. These responses will be posted on the Farm Trails website for all to review in addition to today's forum. Today, we'll be delving a little deeper into some of the agricultural related issues facing farmers and ranchers here in El Dorado County. Please note, in an effort to keep us on track and not to exceed our 1-hour time limit, we will not be taking any questions from the audience. I've tried to come up with an unbiased and fair procedure that allows everyone equal time and opportunity with respect to the order in which candidates will reply. The format that we'll be using will be as follows. Each candidate will have 4 minutes to introduce themselves and their platform. We'll then ask 3 ag-related questions. Each candidate will then have 3 minutes to respond to each of those questions. Once these are completed, each candidate will have 3 minutes to make closing remarks. Assuming all goes as planned, we should be done within an hour. We'll be showing a timer in one of the Zoom windows so each person knows how much time they have to respond. Each candidate will have only the time allotted. I'm going to insist that they do not exceed the time limits or their microphone will be muted. The order in which candidates will respond has been randomly determined by a series of coin tosses. The person that answers the first question first will answer the second question last. The next question will then be responded to first by the person who answered the previous question second, and so on, thereby giving everyone the opportunity to speak first and also to be last. Closing remarks will be done in reverse order of the introductions. Before we move into the candidate introductions, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Mike Owen from Crystal Basin Cellars, who is the current Farm Trails president, and the entire Farm Trails board for their personal efforts and contributions in making this event happen. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our webmaster, Sherry Gobeck, for her assistance and contributions in hosting this forum on her Zoom account. And again, please note, we will be recording this so it can be made available to our members and the general public afterwards. So with that, let's get started. The coin toss resulted in the following order to start: Gary, Lexi, Brian Bierkamp, and then Brian DeBerry. So Gary, you're up first. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you feel you're qualified to be the next District 3 supervisors, and what are your 3 primary objectives if you get elected?
All right. Good afternoon. My name's Gary Martin. I've been a resident of El Dorado County for close to 50 years now. I grew up here, went to school here. I ended up becoming a commercial helicopter pilot after school, and I ended up running a business for a while. I've also become a Department of Justice firearms instructor. I feel that both of those have given me all the tools that I need because I take very seriously what I do, and in my careers, I've made sure that I put that same wisdom and knowledge and everything that I've ever done, I would be applying that to any voting or any duties that I would have as supervisor. I care about this county a lot. I have been here for a long time, and I've watched things erode for quite some time, especially in the last couple decades. I feel that the Board of Supervisors has not done their job. I feel that the past and present Board of Supervisors members have cared more about developers and bringing new people to the county than they have about the people that actually live here now. The people who put down roots need to be their priority, I feel. I'm trying to find a way to help get back to what we had when we did the general plan and make sure that our open spaces, our rural areas, our farms, forests, and water resources are protected. Our infrastructure isn't being upkept. I think that we need to do more to make sure that our infrastructure meets the needs of this county, especially with the growth that is happening and that will continue to happen, even if they try to make sure that they're doing everything they can to abide by that general plan and Measure E. As far as the county is concerned, there's a lot that needs to be fixed. I'm hoping that if I become supervisor, I'll be able to do that. My parents, my dad was a Marine who fought in World War II and Korea. My mom, she was an occupational therapist that took care of patients at Marshall Hospital. My grandfather, he was a police officer and a school teacher. I didn't. Our family didn't start here in the 1800s or anything, but our family did come over on the Mayflower, and we've always cared about everything that we've been involved in. I even started a charity group in Sacramento where we take care of visiting children at the children's hospitals, bringing hope to them. And I like to continue doing the same line of work and same hobbies that I and my family have had by helping and giving back to my county now. That's why I'm running, and I hope to have your vote. Thank you. I can't hear you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Get off mute here. Lexi, you're up next. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you feel you're qualified to be the next District 3 supervisor, and what are your 3 primary objectives if you get elected?
Sure. Thanks, Gordon. I'm happy to be here and talking to you all. My name is Lexi Boger. I was born and raised right here in District 3 at Boger Winery. My parents started that in 1972, first commercial winery in the region. I have been 30 years working in marketing, business strategy in the wine industry, ag tourism, and ag land use is sort of my focus these days. Family's been a lifelong Apple Hill member. I was the president of the El Dorado Winery Association, served on that board for 8 years, including during some real challenges like COVID. I know a lot of you struggled through that time with your farm businesses. I'm the District 3 appointee, or I was, to CEDAC, the Community Economic Development Advisory Committee. My focus there was to represent the ag industry through that lens, and I am the current District 3 seated planning commissioner. So my top 3 issues for my platform is the rural economy that preserves our rural character, missing middle housing, focusing on the struggling permitting process, and then basically just county accountability to outcomes for people. But today I'm really here just to let you know that I know what you guys are facing. Agriculture's had a really rough time, natural disasters. We've had smoke, fire, COVID, fire, frost, flood, rinse and repeat, basically. The wine and grape industry, I don't know how many of you here are in that sector, but it's retracting, and we're looking at 20 years of sort of a market squeeze on that and some real challenges. There's a record number of wineries up for sale right now. So our region's going to really struggle in that issue. You guys have EID water rates that just were increased, and utility rates. This is a challenge for the industry. Fire insurance, need I say more on that? The broken permitting process. I know agriculture needing to do expansions and barns and things like that can be extra years in the process, hundreds of thousands of extra dollars, and then you don't really get anywhere. And this has been a primary reason why I'm running, as a lot of folks, particularly in agriculture, have been calling me just completely frustrated with what they're trying to do in their businesses and can't get anywhere. So it's critical to our survival to address those issues. Ranch marketing coming up in front of the Ag Commission in March. As you guys well know, that's been opened up. We've got current leadership who is not supportive of the ag industry's business expansion. So, and there's a lot of support from the public to sort of, look at those issues. We need to make sure we're vigilant to protect your rights there. That's happening as well. The public and the residents are sort of, we're not the darlings that we were a while ago. And I think that one of the things I'm going to do when I get in there is make sure that people recognize agriculture is 750 million total economic impact in this county. And it's important and it needs to be respected, but we also are going to have to face a lot of these coming challenges, particularly public sentiment around our traffic generation. I've got some really good plans for that. That question was asked at the League of Women Voters, and fee assessment was tossed out as a solution. That's a government fee and a tax on your businesses. We need to look out for these kinds of things. We need to get proactive and get ahead of some of these issues so that we can make a good contract with the county so that your businesses can expand, but we are having the support of the public as well. So the cost of doing business in general, I understand, is critical to everyone. I want you to know that I know this is your reality. It's my reality too. And I just look forward to working through these things together. Thank you.
Thanks, Lexi. Ryan Veerkamp, you're up next. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why you feel you should be the next District 3 Supervisor, and what are your 3 primary objectives for your campaign?
All right, thank you, Gordon. I appreciate it very much. Thanks to Farm Trails as well for hosting this forum today. I'm Brian Veerkamp, lifelong resident, 65 years now of El Dorado County. Went to Sac State, got a degree in business administration and marketing, law school for a couple of years, and started my fire service career as a volunteer firefighter in the city of Placerville, and was blessed to have 32 years of protecting the public here in El Dorado County, including working through some very catastrophic fires, King Fire, and then Caldor, as I was working as the director for the Emergency Services Authority here in the county. So obviously know the public safety sector very well. Married to Lori, 43 years now. We've got grandkids locally as well as down in Clovis. You talk about farmland. That's a major area down there. And just very blessed again with a very good career in public safety, as well as 8 years as a prior board of supervisor. I currently serve with El Dorado Irrigation District and sit as the chair of LAFCO right now. So I've got a lot of background, a lot of experience, and during that term, those 2 terms as board of supervisor, supported agriculture, worked through challenges of trying to get better traffic and circulation to improve our visitor experience, as well as protect our residents. Obviously you all know that our ag has grown tremendously in the area, and we want to continue to be successful, but we got to reach a balance so everybody is it's a win-win situation. So I would continue to work towards that. I also represented the county on numerous committees and commissions. Some of them took me to Sacramento as I chaired Sacramento Area Council of Governments, working diligently for El Dorado County's share of the transportation dollars. I actually was also asked, and I accepted, and was chair of SACOG 1 year. So quite an experience herding 32 different organizations with different philosophies, including the city of Sacramento. So anyway, good experience there. Also got to go back to Washington, D.C. on a few times. I spent 8 years, all 8 of those years, as the water agency chair, working to expand our water in El Dorado County. It only took 29 years, and I wasn't a part of all that, but the last 8 was getting the Fazio contract, and we secured it. So we've got 15,000 additional acre feet out of Folsom Lake for our ability. Now hopefully we can just get upstream diversion changed so we can even get it out of sooner. So we're working on that, but a lot of experience there with the water agency also, and looking forward to getting back there and helping with Alder Reservoir, which has only been around since about 1916. Maybe we can get something done in our lifetime with that one. So, but it is moving in a positive direction. My 3 top priorities, number 1 always is public safety. We're going to have a lot of challenges moving forward. We've already have them now. That includes obviously homelessness and how they're impacting the area. Good governance is another priority of mine. The government should be responsive and respectful of our people. And you all know that I've tried to do a good job with that, strategic planning and making a plan and working the plan. And then our transportation infrastructure is a top priority also. We've got major highways running through us, east and west and north and south. And so the area is impacted severely by the tourists. And that's a good thing, but we've also got to work diligently with the state to make sure the state's ponying up their share, as a lot of these folks now are going to Nevada and coming back and forth. So that's why I'm trying to run back for the Board of Supervisors. I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, and I'm pretty sure I have the ability to do it. So thanks again for hosting this today and looking forward to the questions.
Thanks, Brian. Brian DeBerry, are you here? Mike, is he here? Do you know?
I believe he's on.
Is he the one on the phone? That's
Hello, Brian?
I see. It looks like he's on, but
Yeah.
it looks like I mean, see his window there, but I don't know if he's tied to the phone number that's down here in the bottom or not, and looks like it's muted. I don't know if,
Check his email. All right, let's move
I
on.
guess, yeah, I guess we'll just move along then. Go to the first question. If he is able to get in, we can tie both his introduction and the question together. Okay, so the first question I have, and I guess the order that we're going in now is Lexi, Brian Veerkamp, Brian DeBerry, and Gary. How will you be able to support small scale farmers and ranchers in El Dorado County, ensuring their viability and sustainability in the face of economic and environmental challenges like the frost and fires we've recently experienced? Moreover, do you support additional agritourism activities that might help to offset these difficult times, such as farm stays, ag camping, and other activities? Lexi, you're the first one up for this one.
Yes, 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 and yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I support, like I said in my introduction, totally recognizing the impacts to agriculture in recent years. It's going to get harder to do. But the reason that El Dorado County is rural and beautiful is because we have this industry and it needs to be protected for the welfare of everybody. We need to be modern minded. We've had hardships in the past. We had a pear blight in 1970 that wiped out our entire industry, and we had to get creative and rethink it. That's why we've got the wine industry today. So we need to keep our eyes open for diversification. We need to allow farms every opportunity to innovate new ways to leverage their existing businesses. So with the camping and glamping and that type of thing, it's a no-brainer. The state has passed laws around farm stays that we at this county just have yet to really make clear and utilize for our farms. We need to put a lot of pressure back up on the state for those things. Campings are regulated by the state, as you know, and maybe that's something that needs to come home to rest with the county so that we can really have a hand on that to leverage for our farms. So there's some other ideas too. I've said this many times and been talking to folks on the side. We need to look at modern contracts with the county that are business improvement districts, where that's basically where the county can create a better business environment for you, expand your rights under ordinances, et cetera, so that you can increase your revenue, so that then there is room for us to help mitigate with some of the traffic or other road maintenance issues and things like that. I think we need to be willing to be a partner with those things so that we can also not lose the love and support of the public and our residences who are maybe feeling some of our impacts. But that should never happen in any other way than a mutually beneficial win-win situation like a business improvement. And I've already been working with leaders on this as well. We've got a lot of smart people at the table that can help us facilitate this kind of thing, but we need to resist governments. I've heard city council in the past talking about fee assessment districts or just trying to lay a tax on you to pay for the traffic that's happening. So we want to make sure that we don't get a government solution like that, and that we have a modern industry forward win-win proactive situation with the county going forward. And I'm happy to spearhead that if I get in there. Thank you.
Thanks, Lexi. Is Brian DeBerry online yet? I don't see him. So Brian Veerkamp, you're up next. Let me reread your question to you. How will you be able to support small scale farmers and ranchers in El Dorado County, ensuring their viability and sustainability in the face of economic and environmental challenges like the frost fires we've recently experienced? Moreover, do you support additional agritourism activities that might help to offset these difficult times, such as farm stays, ag camping, and other activities?
Yeah, so I'm going to jump on board. Yes, the answers are yes to all those. I've got a track record of supporting small farms and the ag industry. And in the 8 years I served as a board of supervisor, I live close enough to Apple Hill that I can smell it and touch it within 10 minutes, if not sooner. And I think it's a very vital part of our community. But we got to do it with balance in mind as well. Obviously, you know, we work diligently. All of us work together to do the best we could to work on some traffic related issues. Remember, we're now bringing in thousands of people, and before it was a much smaller amount, and we're doing it on wagon roads. There hasn't been any circulation improvements or major infrastructure improvements at all. And you know, just as we you know, lay it on housing, we've got to make sure that we're good stewards of our area, because there's lots of residents that live here as well, and we want to stay in their good graces, but also support the ag component. Water is something, again, I've always been supportive of. We've secured more water rights and we'll continue to work towards that. Affordability is a state issue. Our 218 review that we just completed, and I think some of you were involved in the last round of 218 with EID. It is a sore subject, but most of it's been because of the regulation imposed on us by the state, as well as the aging infrastructure and construction costs that went up over 51% in the last 2 years. So try to get a $50 million project done, such as Silver Lake Dam, and get it done in a timely fashion, let alone under budget, is a tough thing to do nowadays. So I think the expansion that we can go after is as well, and the districts that Lexi's talking about, we were kicking those around back when I was a supervisor. They were met with some resistance, but again, we have to work together so we can build in the amount of money necessary to support that infrastructure so we can grow. And I think that's a good place to be. There's numerous good examples out there in other areas. Europe does it all over their areas. They have special ag districts and different districts, benefit assessments and so forth that can be explored. And I think that's the way to win, and you're passing the cost on to the tourist. You know, our TOT as well is extremely low when compared to other areas people go to. And, you know, that would be something we answered the other night. I did anyway, that I would support getting that TOT increase, because that's, again, back on the tourist. And it also helps, that money then would go specifically, in my mind, to our infrastructure so we can be able to get around and repair our roads. So yes, I do support, and yes, I will work diligently to maintain that for our small farms and so forth.
Thanks, Brian. Brian DeBeer, are you there? I see your window, but you are muted. All right, Gary, I'm gonna move on to you. Let me reread the question for you. How will you be able to support small-scale farmers and ranchers in El Dorado County, ensuring their viability and sustainability in the face of economic and environmental challenges like the frost and fires we've recently experienced? Moreover, do you support additional agritourism activities that might help to offset these difficult times, such as farm stays, ag camping, and other activities?
Yes, to all of the above. I grew up in Camino. My parents built a house and had an orchard there. My dad had a place called Ken's Kitchen and Apple Shed, and you know, I grew up with everybody that's up there, all the families. I mean, we all went to school together. I would like to try to find ways that we can bring something in from the federal, state, and the county to help financially offset some of these obstacles that have happened with these environmental problems, making it sure that we can keep all of our farms, you know, viable. I feel that the county needs to do more for the tourism. I feel Apple Hill is probably one of the most beautiful places this side of Lake Tahoe in all of El Dorado County, and it needs to be maintained and it needs to be protected. I feel that we need to have more tourism and make it easier for the farms and wineries to be able to do their job, do their business. Less regulation from the county and the state would be a plus. I feel that they really need to support them because it is the lifeblood of this county, in my opinion. And I will do everything in my power if I become supervisor to help my hometown. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian DeBeer, are you there? Okay, I guess I'm going to move on to question number 2. Brian, you're going to start off with this one. Recently, the city of Placerville did a study to turn the lights all green during the month of October when Apple Hill traffic is excessive. Many local businesses on both sides, both inside and outside the city had concerns with this, along with the residents. What's your opinion on the all green concept, and how might the county assist the city with this concept if that's something that should be done?
I truly believe it is. It is one of our answers, and it certainly, with technology that we have available to us today, can be done a little bit less intrusive than the pilot was. It has to happen because, again, the traffic impacts of even South Lake Tahoe only get multiplied 10 times when we go through the Apple Hill season. So it's proven successful. There's north-south detours that local people can take. Yes, I understand the downtown business people, have that feeling that nobody would come through town. Well, believe me, when everything's backed up and Main Street's clogged and the north-south connectors are clogged, nobody wants to stop because they're too ticked off to stop. So they need to have opportunities. You look at the bypasses, and I'm not advocating for a bypass, but you look at the bypasses in the surrounding counties around us, and they had the same fears, and they're flourishing. Their downtown old historic towns are flourishing and doing just fine. So the trip to green, I think, is successful. As a county supervisor, we would participate. We will participate. I've been on the Transportation Commission, and we were ones that brought that up, that we should be turning those lights on during peak times, and then the trip to green came out of that. So I fully support it. And again, I think it's one of the ways we can do it without doing a $60 million bypass, which is what the proposal would be from Caltrans. I don't think they're ever going to fund it now with current state budget. So use our technology to our advantage and help people. They want to stop in Placerville, they will, but not when they're mad. So help them travel wherever unrestricted that they want, and that frees up the residents to be able to get around as well. Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks, Brian. Brian DeBerry, are you there? Okay, Gary, this question goes to you next then. Again, let me reread the question. Recently, the city of Placerville did a study to turn the lights all green during the month of October when Apple Hill traffic is excessive. Many local businesses, both inside and outside of the city, had concerns with this. What is your opinion on the all green, or as Brian referred to it, I guess, trip to green concept, and how might the county assist the city with this concept or not?
Well, growing up there, I know that the traffic can be pretty horrendous on weekends trying to get around, even as for the local residents of Camino. I feel that having those lights green, that did help. But when we have events in Placerville, the freeway gets backed up down there. That's just what's going to happen when you have a 2-lane highway going through town. I feel that if we can synchronize some of this with Caltrans to have them help the situation, keep those lights on longer, I think that would help. And I agree that if we have a traffic problem coming through there, I've been stuck in that traffic many times. And I grew up in the town, but I would end up turning and getting away from that 50, and I would stop off in town and go and have a bite to eat or something and wait for it to get a little better. I feel that the tourism and all the transit that people are coming through, they're going to do the same thing. I think it does help the tourism and the owners of businesses in El Dorado County, especially in Placerville. When that does get backed up, it's an opportunity for you not to just drive through on your way to Tahoe or to Apple Hill. And it brings business downtown, and as well as, the people in Apple Hill, they have to understand they have apples, they have trees, they can get pumpkins and all that in their own towns. They come up because it's special, and they drive a long way to get there. I think that they can handle that little bit of a traffic jam getting there on the last leg of their trip to beautiful Apple Hill. And I'm all for doing what we can to keep that traffic flowing as best as possible. But I do feel that having the green light there, that does help. But we're going to have to work with Caltrans on making sure that we can keep that going right. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Lexi, you're up next for this question. I'll go ahead and read it again.
You don't have to read it again.
Okay.
Well, I think the primary elephant in the room here is that the county and the city had an opportunity 30, 40 years ago to get this solved when Caltrans was at the table, and they couldn't make a decision and people couldn't agree, and they put their head in the sand. And I like to say that doing nothing is still a decision, and they made a decision, and here we are. And now trip to green, I think, is the best practical solution we have at hand. It's not perfect. But I don't see any other, real technical viable solution that we can do at the moment. So that's sort of where that lies. I think something the ag industry can do, and this is just, again, I try to always bring we need to think out of the box at times. One of the problems is that we are so heavily impacted in October, and the county can certainly help facilitate new regulations and ordinances to help diversify business endeavors of agriculture, so we can start spreading that visitation around throughout the whole year. If we can get people pulled off of October but coming at other times of the year, we can reduce some of that traffic impact. But we need to really partner with the county to create some strategies that are going to allow us to really have some more vital business by diversifying. And so they can facilitate that. That would just be one way that we can work from both ends to solve this problem.
Thanks, Lexi. Is Brian DeBerry in the house? Okay, I'm going to move on, I guess, to the third question. This deals more with kind of land use and I guess development from some perspective. Brian DeBerry would be first, but I guess we'll start with Gary on this one. What are the pros and cons?
Gordon, are you able to unmute Brian? It's Tracy. He might not be able to unmute, but can you unmute as the admin maybe?
I'm not the admin.
Whoever's got control of the Zoom, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been messaging Mike, so they're working on it.
Thank you.
Thanks. So Gary, what are the pros and cons of the proposed Dorado Oaks development near Diamond Springs, and do you support it as it's currently proposed?
Well, as far as the traffic problem, I think that's probably one of the biggest cons of the Dorado Oaks. I'm not in favor of it myself. I feel that the way they've been doing it with the EIR, and it needs to be redone. I think that it's been going on for too long trying to plan this out, and I think that they need to work on something together and try to go back to the table and decide whether or not this is truly right for Diamond Springs. And I've had too much that I've heard from the residents of Diamond Springs saying that they are not happy with it. The roundabout, the way they wanted to bypass the traffic through there. And I understand that there is some traffic issues, but they've also talked about taking out some of the historic buildings down there to widen the road. I feel all of this is against what the locals of Diamond Springs want, and something needs to be done about it. I don't think that it should go through the way it is. I am against it.
Okay. Thank you. Lexi, you're up next on that question. You want me to repeat it?
No, I got it. And I unfortunately have to give a short answer, as I am a current planning commissioner and this still may come in front of us. So I'm not allowed to speak directly to any specific projects. But I would just say that in general, my approach with any of these projects is to ensure compliance with the general plan, go through a fair process where we're taking in input and feedback from public and stakeholder groups, making sure it's compliant environmentally with CEQA and everything else, and circulation and all those other things are addressed. And if there's issues, that they are properly mitigated, and just to try to make a fair decision about what's going to be best for the community, and have it be a sound land use decision. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Brian Veerkamp, you want me to repeat the question?
Gordon, thanks. Dorado Oak, along with 6 other developments, been proposed in that area for 30 plus years. And as it sits today, especially, by itself or even with the other projects, there is not the infrastructure or circulation to support it. There's also historical issues raised in the EIR that are significant. And I agree, obviously, with Gary as well. It's been sitting almost stale now for a long time, and it either needs to be dropped or move forward to the Planning Commission. But my own opinion, there's not the evidence to support a viable project there. It's got too many issues. And when you start looking at the significant but unavoidables, I don't buy into that significant unavoidable. If it's significant, it's a real problem. And especially with circulation over in that area, Pleasant Valley Road's level F for a long ways. I don't believe the Parkway is going to relieve that to any super magnitude, because again, you're talking Highway 49, you're talking about a lot of the businesses over there, and it's just a very congested for good reason area. So I do not, as it sits, and I don't think they can do anything to mitigate it. And there's just not the southern east-west connections that would be necessary. And it just, no, it does not sit well with me.
Okay. Thank you. Brian DeBerry, it looked like your microphone was unmuted there for a minute. Are you here now?
Am I here there? Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, thank Tracy. Thank Tracy for me for telling me what I was doing wrong.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us why you think you should be the next District 3 supervisor, and what are your 3 primary objectives if you're elected?
I will try to make it as short as possible. I'm a lifelong resident of El Dorado County. I'm a Vietnam vet. I worked for the EID. I've worked for the DOT and 23 years with Caltrans in the survey, land survey, road construction, road design. And I came back and retired in my favorite and county that I've loved for all my life. And the first thing that I saw years ago when I ran the first time was when I lost my insurance, because the insurance company told me our roads were causing first responders to delay time when they wanted to drop my insurance. I looked at them at that time, and that was 10 years ago. And yes, they are right. Our roads are in serious, bad situation. I still tell people on the illegal drag race strips in this county, I used to drag race on them, and I could bet you I could still find the tire marks from my car on the ground. They have not been overlaid. They have not been in at least 60 years. But that's our second most important thing right now. We are facing a budget hassle. Too much spending, too much has gone on. And now we, as I say, all of us have to make whatever kind of sacrifice it's going to take to correct the ship. When 49% of your budget comes from federal or state grants, you can't run a county on that. The state now is in financial 68 million or million in the hole. You can't run on that. You can't expect those grants to come through as easy. So we have to find alternative ways to generate money. And I think the county already sees what in the background, what they already think they're going to do. We have no mining anymore. We have no lumber anymore. Tourism is on the decline because we don't have anything for people to come here anymore to see. We're losing it every day. The Clay Street Bridge, they want to re-alter Placerville. People come to see this country, and maybe for an hour, think of what it might have been like back in 1849. As I've said before, they don't come to see downtown Milpitas. Our farming industry is in a hurt now and we need it desperately because of the raise in EID rates. I believe the county and the people in the county and the county government need to support what little industry we have right now, and that's the agriculture. It needs to be supported, helped, and maintained. We need to do everything we can to bring in jobs, create jobs in this county. But I have a feeling I see what's going on. I was one of the first ones to fight the Dorado Oaks, and then stepped away from that group that's fighting it because I wanted to say what I wanted to say without my words being put down on somebody else. The county sees the only thing left it has to generate money is large-scale subdivisions. Why? Because everything else is gone. They're hoping to generate all these subdivisions, which I have heard Dorado Oaks will extend behind Deer Park all the way to the high school. Diamond Springs can't handle that. The roads can't handle it. The water can't handle it. The people can't handle it. Any day between 3:30 and 5:30, you can see what results of what poor planning and poor future planning has done to this county. I challenged the Board of Supervisors here several months ago in the paper and in person to come out and sit in front of Deb's Frosty any day between 3:30 and 5:30 and see what has happened to Diamond Springs and the gridlock that goes on. They have essentially, my pardon the expression, blown me off. They have not done it. So these two issues, the roads and our financial condition, are to me the most important things we have to do to change. I feel my job is not to govern people, it's to help people. Right now, I'm fighting an issue on Fowler Lane involving the DOT. I went today to a Board of Supervisors meeting and for open forum, and I was in the room. They cut me off when I got up to give them a letter I sent to Rafael Marcinez in person, complaining about the problems. They shut me off and told me to send them an email. These are two problems where people's safety is involved. One's a water leak, and the other leak is a thing where people are being forced to jump into berries on Fowler Lane if there's too many cars on the road at the same time. That is what I want to do. Is I want to go, if elected, and look for areas, meet all my constituents firsthand, so that they can come up to me and say, "Hi, Brian, I got this problem." Not Supervisor DeBerry, not Mr. DeBerry, but Brian. I believe in having open house meetings at least once a month, either in Diamond Springs, Placerville, or Camino, to make it easy access for any other people. So I hope I caught up with everything I was trying to say and hope to say earlier, but I will relinquish the floor now. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. You did, I think, address, the introduction and I guess the question about Dorado Oaks. I guess maybe I'll circle back a little bit to the first ag question that we asked. How would you be able to support small farmers and ranchers in Dorado County, ensuring their viability and sustainability in face of economic and environmental challenges like the frosts and the fires we recently experienced? Moreover, do you support additional agritourism activities that might help to offset these difficult times, such as farm stays, ag camping, and other activities? You want to go ahead and take that one on?
Yeah, I've got ordinance number 5177 in front of me. I've read most of it today. I never even considered it before because I've always been an agricultural in favor person. But if this is the correct one, I got off the supervisor's site, there's 46 pages of bureaucracy telling people how they can do things. And I need to think that we need to take some of the burden off the people. We need the agricultural community to survive. We need it desperately. And anything that comes down as not anything that affects public safety and helps the people to survive in the problems we're having, I'm in favor of it. I think that this document covers every T and dots every I, and I don't think it needs to be, what I've read of it, that stringent. It needs to be on a case-by-case basis where people can help people. And that's where I'll answer that one at. Thank you.
Okay, and then lastly, what's your opinion regarding the trip to green, the traffic lights turning green during the month of October? Many of the local businesses, both inside and outside of the city, have concerns with this. What's your opinion on this concept, and how might the county assist the city with this concept if that's something that should be done?
I don't remember correctly where I posted it, but I might have been in a letter to the editor. But dealing and working with Caltrans for 23 years, I proposed exactly this to the city months ago, and it took a while for it to come back. Maybe they didn't hear what I said, but I know that that could alleviate some of the problem. You can't do all three of them at one time because they have to go through, but you can't slow traffic down constantly all the way through Placerville. When I worked with Caltrans, I would go someplace to a motel room and I'd say Placerville. And more often than not, the clerk would say, "Oh, isn't that little town in the foothills that has 3 stoplights in it on the way to Tahoe?" I said, "That's the one. Aren't they ever going to fix that problem?" And I said, "Well, maybe someday." And so, yes, we need to come up with either modifying what's done to help everybody, or somebody come up with a new idea to take the pressure off the local people, help the tourists come in here, and I will do everything I can to help try to mitigate that problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you other candidates for allowing Brian DeBerry to catch up here. We're going to move to closing remarks, and Brian DeBerry was supposed to go first, but I'm going to move him to the last since he just spoke quite a bit. So Brian Veerkamp, please feel free to expand on any of the responses you provided and or elaborate on any other issues you feel are important to the agricultural community that you plan to address as a supervisor.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you for this opportunity again to be here in this forum today. Thank you for all that are signed on and listening in. Appreciate it. It takes people's involvement to make a village, and you're all very much appreciated. I think I answered the questions the way I wanted to answer them. Being a board of supervisor to me is a very important role. It takes professionalism, takes knowledge, takes ability, takes experience. And when you get in for 4 years, for most, especially if you don't have any governance background, you're basically just getting your feet wet and learning. So I believe that I've got, with my background, that all of those important elements, as well as integrity, they more than qualify me for this elected position. And again, I just can't emphasize enough, it just is a very important role, and we need to be interactive with our state and federal government. I've been to DC numerous times. I've advocated for our water and for our other of our basic infrastructure needs. I know my way around, and I will continue to do so if elected. So again, it'd be an honor to serve as your District 3 supervisor. We've had very good support and interaction with Farm Trails and Farm Bureau and the others in the past. And, it's nice to see Mike Rinaldi back and involved. He's a great supervisor. Again, I'll just close with, give me the opportunity and I will not let you down. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. Lexi, you're up next. You want to make some closing remarks?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, really great to talk with all you folks. Agriculture is my culture. This is really where my heart lies. It's much of the reason why I'm running at all. I just think that we are the vitality of this county in terms of this is where things grow. This is what makes people feel healthy. We are the stewards of our open spaces, and we're struggling. And I think that what we need is someone with vision, who can have some regional viability for us going into the future, because the future is coming with it's not like it was in the past. There's going to be new challenges, and we need somebody who can navigate these new problems without just applying old solutions. And that's sort of what I'm best at. I'm a creative thinker. I have a lot of business background, and I think that we just need to apply some flexibility and to try to navigate what's coming. And, but balanced with that is that I just have extremely deep roots here in Apple Hill, here in District 3, but also my family is 6 generations of California farming, every type of sector you can imagine. So it's vital to the state culture, it's vital to our culture. And I'm just absolutely dedicated to it. And I hope that you trust me with your vote, and that I can represent us going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Lexi. Gary, you're up next. You want to make some closing remarks?
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I've spent most of my life in my industries making life or death decisions, and with little or no room for error. I plan on using that same, to help protect our county. Making any decisions I'd be making as a supervisor, I want to work with all the county's different departments. I want to work with all of the different organizations that represent the different communities to make sure that their voices are finally getting heard. Because from what I've heard from all the people that I've spoken to, their concern is that nobody's listening to them. Nobody's caring about those little communities, and they seem to care more about developments. They're not paying attention to what happened with general plan, and they're not adhering to it. They just keep eroding it. I feel that the supervisors that are there, and I said as the ones in the past, they don't seem to be doing what they promise. If I become elected, I plan on hitting the ground running and making sure that I am going to do what everybody wants and communicating on a regular basis with everyone. And I'm always going to have an open door, and my phone's always going to be available. I want to have town hall meetings on a regular basis as well, so that I can find out and get a feel for what everybody's concerns are. And before I make any votes, I'm going to make sure I know what the communities that those votes will affect. What if I'm voting in the way that they want? I want to be the voice of El Dorado County in District 3. I want to make sure that I get everybody's opinion before I make any decisions. And I grew up in El Dorado County. I grew up in Camino. Camino means a lot to me. It's one of the main reasons I'm running is because I want to protect where I grew up. It's my hometown. I don't want this to turn into some city like Vacaville and just be something that it's not. We need to really protect our farms and those open spaces in our rural areas and our historic areas before they get eroded to the point where they're not there anymore. People in El Dorado County moved here for a reason. They fell in love with something they found special in this area, like my parents did. That needs to be protected so that we don't lose that. I think that the best thing that we can do right now is work together as one big community to try to find a way to protect what we have. Like I said, I also believe in the rule of law and protecting our Constitution. I want to stop putting the burden of debt on all of the people in our community and our taxpayers, because they keep taking away from all of us and making it more difficult for us to live here. We need more jobs that are going to have a living wage, because people tell me their concerns about how are their next generation going to survive? How are they going to be able to get a house here? I feel that we need to work with that so that we can try to make it so that there is an opportunity for future generations to be able to stay in this community. And that's where I am right now with how I feel about everything in this county and why I'm running. I really hope that I can get some people in this county to understand that we need to do things differently, and this is our opportunity. I appreciate your vote so that I can help do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary. Brian DeBerry, you want to make some closing remarks? Brian, are you able to unmute?
I would like to thank everybody that's taking the patience to help me. Tracy helped me, and Mike. I believe leadership requires 4 basic principles. First is common sense, care, compassion, and integrity. And I've considered this county, when people ask what your hometown is, I say proudly El Dorado County. I love this county from one end to the other. I haven't been to the fires that we've had, the places I used to hunt, because I would probably cry at what they look like. I plan on, if elected, to do everything I can to help the people in my district and support what they need to have done. I am I have no problem taking anybody on over a problem or a situation. You just have to go through the protocol like I'm doing on these problems here in Diamond. I expect people to come up and tell me what their problems are. And I intend to keep any and all things that they say to me purely confidential unless they tell me otherwise. I look forward to doing the job that I think I can do. I know I can do it because I've been here. I know the problems. I know the country. And I would like to put my knowledge at Caltrans and road design and stuff at work for the people. And I would appreciate everybody's vote. And thank you again, everybody, and especially for putting up with my inexperience with Zoom meetings. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Mike Owen, you want to make any closing remarks before we wrap this up?
I just really want to say that we appreciate from the Farm Trails interested involvement of all the candidates, and especially Gordon's efforts to moderate this thing and ask measured questions and show some flexibility when it's time. We really look forward to having this up on the El Dorado County Farm Trails website so that it has some legs to it, especially right now as the ballots are being mailed. So we wish all the candidates good luck and good fortune during this balloting cycle. And then we're probably looking forward to coming back in an October timeframe and picking up on issues and doing this once again.
Thanks, Mike. And thank you all for participating. I think District 3 voters are going to have a tough time here. So thank you all again for being here. And I wish all the candidates the best of luck. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.